Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here for wearechange.org, and I'm extremely ecstatic to be doing this broadcast. Why? Because they did not take away Apu. On Sunday, me and Luke were discussing this as it was being widely reported that one of the writers had confirmed that next season Apu was going to be written out of the show. I am a lifelong fan of The Simpsons. It got its series premiere when I was in, what was I, 5th grade? I was 10 years old. And, back then it was very, very controversial. And it wasn't controversial because the characters were stereotypical, which they were. Before we look at Apu, first of all, being a successful business owner, somebody who embraced the culture. He's driving around in a Corvette, a family man, a man who, was in an arranged marriage he didn't want to be in, expressed. There's a lot of great cultural references that were made during this time, period, amen. Like this was done unbelievably well. And you look at someone like Hibbert, okay, Dr. Hibbert, the successful black doctor. Well, nobody seems to be outraged about Hibbert being a parody of Bill Cosby, which he obviously was, of Mr. Huxtable. Okay? Nobody's outraged that the police chief has a pig nose. Nobody. Nobody is outraged that an Italian man runs a pizzeria, nor should they be. It's all absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous in this manufactured outrage tantrum culture. There's been nobody calling for the end of Herschel Krostowski, the Jewish entertainment clown. And remember, his father was a Hasidic rabbi who had passed away. I mean, Christians aren't part of the outrage mob, but they might take some issue with old Ned Flanders. That's the situation we're in. And, if you take a look at how many of these characters, I mean, this is old. This is super old. This is almost 2 decades old, and maybe this is like 1999, 2000. You can tell because Ned's first wife right here, Maud Flanders, is a ghost, and she died around that time. He ended up remarrying one of the teachers, Mrs. Krabappel. I mean, again, this is a show that has been on the cutting edge of political satire, of humor for years. It represents parodies of just about everybody. For instance, I guess you could say that Willie's a drunk, so if they really wanted to be bad about it, they would have made him Irish. But they've made plenty of drunken Irish jokes. And, they've made plenty of Scottish jokes about Willie that have nothing to do with alcohol. In fact, if you look at them dealing with alcohol, most of it, maybe in the early seasons, was done more with the town drunk Barney, but later on, it's all Homer. It's all Homer. It's the drunken dad. Should we get rid of Disco Stew because people in the 70s wore bell-bottoms and not everybody did, and they don't want to be portrayed that way? I mean, come on. So I'm just extremely ecstatic. I'm super happy that he's not going anywhere, and he didn't need to go anywhere. And whenever this crap comes up, we have to be bold, okay? We got the trouble with Apu. What's the trouble with somebody who had an even-keeled temper? In fact, one of the very earlier episodes where they're kind of parroting the fact that he owns it's a Quickie Mart there, but it could be any convenience store or small deli. And again, I grew up in New York State. Not in the city, but went to the city plenty. Many, 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 many local convenience stores on the way up from the city, down into Long Island, into Dutchess County, Rockland, Orange, where that's a fact of life. I've lived in Texas, Austin, outside of Austin. Same thing. It's a stereotype for a reason. It's not a bad thing. In one of those earlier episodes, he's taking Homer on this trail and he's being super patient with him. But even at one point, he loses it as well, showing he's a human being. And I think that they've handled that character with grace. Again, having all those children, having his brother Sanjay. Like I said, I'm a super fan. But they've humanized the man. And he's a success in every single regard. He's never been dehumanized. And I'm sorry if you think that it's culturally inappropriate to represent any type of person that could be misconstrued as a stereotype. But stereotypes are stereotypes for a reason. I know you're not allowed to say that either. So I want to move on from this issue. This is a big win, in my opinion, onto another issue, and it's called foreign policy. And, you know, usually Mad Dog Mattis and me, we're not getting along. I don't like the Mad Dog. I'm kind of surprised that he is still in there as Secretary of Defense. I would have thought he would have been long gone by now. But I'm going to give him credit where credit is due. And he is calling for a ceasefire in Yemen within 30 days. This is a bold move. And by the way, you notice that you're not really hearing much about it in the mainstream media. Crazy, huh? Crazy that the mainstream media doesn't want to talk about our Secretary of Defense when he's against war in some regard. Oh, wait a minute, that's right. Our mainstream media doesn't even want to tell us that we're essentially in war right now with Yemen. It's not just Saudi Arabia. It's Saudi Arabia using our missiles, our weapons, our reports, our targets. Okay? And it's causing a huge humanitarian crisis. And people are starving on another level there. In fact, I encourage people to go over to our Facebook, where I posted Rand Paul over a year ago, well over a year ago now, 14, 15 months ago, before the Senate, laying all of this out about Yemen and why we should not be involved and why we should not be backing Saudi Arabia. Fell on deaf ears, and he knew it would. He even said so. But he laid it all out on the line. Remember, MSNBC, they love talking about Michael Avente, and they love Stormy Daniels, and they want to tell you all about Robert Mueller and the caravan. They don't want to tell you about starving people that we're bombing. They don't want to talk about school buses that are getting hit with Raytheon missiles. Just not a popular subject, I guess. So when Mattis comes out and says he wants a ceasefire, I am applauding this move. I'm extremely happy about it. Again, a lot of us thought Trump might make good on being a non-interventionist, on getting us out of Iraq, Afghanistan, and especially Syria. But whether he's wanted to do those things or not, he hasn't done them. And he's only made things worse in the Middle East. Okay? That's what he's done. He's only made things worse. What do you mean, Jason? Well, right now, we should be out of Syria. There's basically no reason to be there. Yet somehow we're still entrenched in that one small region where ISIS, now over a week and a half ago, was reported to have 700 hostages and executing them. Again, not in the mainstream right now. They're not talking about how there's European nationals, American nationals amongst them. A lot of shady things going on over there. But remember, this was never, ever about defeating ISIS. If it was about defeating ISIS, it would have been done by now. ISIS wouldn't have this stronghold. This was about regime change. Okay? So yeah, I am disappointed with the president. And as many times as somebody like Mattis over here, which is rare, will say something like this, actions speak louder than words. And when you see a guy like Bolton become the national security advisor, talking about tough approaches to Venezuela, Nicaragua, and, of course, Cuba, we haven't even gotten into Iran yet, which, by the way, just today, they put all the sanctions back up against those guys. Remember that arms treaty? Nope. Peace deals? Nope. We already knew he took them away, but now we're starting to get aggressive. Israel loves that. Another reason I can't really get behind this man's foreign policy, a tough approach to Venezuela. Venezuela is already on the brink of disaster. In fact, if you watch a couple of the videos that Luke has done, being down in Bogota, Colombia, he's asking the question right now whether Brazil and Colombia, which border Venezuela, will actually go in and invade. And Maduro, he's not a popular guy down there. And a population of about 30 million in Venezuela, there are estimates that about 10% of that are going to leave the country. That's 3 million people. That's a lot. I know we live in our own little bubble in the United States, 300, 350, 400 million, whatever you believe we have, with all the undocumented people here. Well, there are other parts of the world where that's going to be extremely volatile. And we've seen some of the situations in Venezuela. In fact, again, Luke only 2.5 years ago being down there, it shows you that's not a good situation for anybody. Maybe for some elitists, maybe for the top of the socialist class over there. But in general, bad news. Bad news. Oh, so I want to move on to the next story here. And this is more local, but still along the lines of Trump. And what is this? Well, Dershowitz has kind of fallen out of the target of thinking people. Now that Dershowitz, all right, has basically endorsed Trump, is a talking head for Trump. And don't think that that's a mistake. Don't think that's by accident. That's a worked out deal. That's what that is. Because Dershowitz was also the lawyer of Jeffrey Epstein. And that's what these posters about. You're not going to see this on the national news. You ain't going to see this on MSNBC, CNN, or Fox News. None of them. By the way, CNN, MSNBC combined don't do the numbers that Fox News is doing. And that doesn't make them any more honest because they don't want to talk about this. And what is this talking about? We don't want Dershowitz here because he's an accused child rapist, which he is. Court papers show it. He has been accused several times. He has denied these. It has not been proven in a court of law. However, the people that he has represented, the people he is associated with, well, I don't trust him. The fact that he's a lawyer, that he's a proven liar, Alan Dershowitz, no. Why would I trust him? Why would I trust him? And this is why I can't get on this left-right bandwagon, this conservative, liberal nonsense. If you guys were being honest, everybody would be talking about this. They'd be, the Me Too movement should jump on this. That's right, Alan Dershowitz. You shouldn't be able to speak here. Instead, you're seeing the local news, the local college news. I think it's basically just from Colgate where he's supposed to be speaking. No media wants to touch it. They don't want to touch it. And, to Cernovich's credit, Luke, we just put out that interview a little over an hour ago now. So after you watch this, please go over to the main channel and check out that interview. Luke asked him what he thought about the fact that Steve Bannon had been reported as meeting with Jeffrey Epstein a couple months ago, discussing the midterms, discussing getting some funding and money. Because as the world turns, folks, it's all about the money. It's that gravy train with biscuit wheels to get elected. And, at first, Cernovich, he seems a little nervous. Maybe didn't want to talk about this. Says, at first I didn't know whether those reports were true and I didn't think it even happened. And then he said that he found out that the source for that story, which I believe originally landed in the New York Post, picked up by the Daily Mail, was in fact Roger Stone. Now, how would, Roger Stone obviously being in the Bannon circle and the Epstein circle, he is in those circles. And Roger Stone is not a hero. And again, Cernovich said, I'd like to talk to Roger. I'd like to talk to Bannon. And Cernovich is actually in court trying to get paperwork on Epstein. And I think December 8th is supposed to be when that trial takes place. And this is something I've been covering again and again and again in the many months that I've been working here with We Are Change. And it's gotten no coverage. And again, all you people that believed in phony indictments and a superhero named Q and John Podesta and Hillary Clinton and Anthony Weiner all going to prison with Jeffrey Epstein, better wake up and smell the coffee, because that's not what's happening. More than likely, those people that have committed horrific crimes are going to walk away from these situations almost unscathed. And that's a disturbing reality. That transcends your superhero mentality of Lord Trumping pants. All right? Again, I think he went in there thinking, I'm draining some swamp. I'm knocking down walls. This is going to happen. The guy couldn't even release the JFK assassination documents from 50 years ago. 50 plus. Okay? Think about that. He can't even tell you the truth about an event 50 plus years ago. And he's supposed to be the most powerful man on the planet. No, he's not. No, he's not. And that's not the way the world works. So, again, I understand people think, he's got to pick and choose his battles, but you need to understand that the parapolitics that has gone on behind the scenes, the fact he has not drained the swamp, that he's only empowered them with his foreign policy, is a huge problem. And he may be talking about big tech, but is he doing enough about big tech? And that brings me to this story right here. Okay? Tech giants may have to be broken up, says Tim Berners-Lee. And this is one of the guys that actually invented the internet. Okay? In 1989. He was one of the founders of the World Wide Web in 89. And there was a specific quote right here I thought we should read. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, and Facebook have a combined market capitalization of $3.7 trillion. That is equal to Germany's GDP last year. And the last time we talked about breaking up tech companies, this was in the 90s with Microsoft. And again, Bill Gates said, you know what, I don't think I want to go into the Council on Foreign Relations. Well, he did. As soon as that antitrust talk was there. And you know what? I'm also going to start the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And I'm kind of going to go into philanthropy where they wanted me to. And at the same time, I am going to help Apple survive by funding my competition. Yes, that happened. Apple was ready to go under. And Microsoft gave it a little cashola. And it survived. Well-known fact. Not discussed about. Okay? Oh, all right. And with that being said, with a $3.7 trillion valuation, it should also be noted that the world's billionaires, well, they became 20% richer in 2017. So as the technopoly grows, the billionaires get richer. They continue to make more and more and more money. And get more and more control while we have less and less say, less and less power, less and less choices, less and less recourse of action. And as that happens, well, automation just keeps marching forward, baby. And that's why we've got a warehouse, and I don't want to say they're going to be very European, very football, in other words, a.k.a. soccer, but a large factory in China is going to be run exclusively by the robots. There you go. Take a look. No human beings. Automation is here in a big way. It is only going to grow exponentially. And we are going to see so many things automated over the next 5 to 10 years. Now, as I go on this rant, I am also going to take maybe 1 or 2 phone calls if we can get it. We've only got about 40 people watching on, what are we on here? On the backup channel on YouTube. But this is also being simulcast over on Facebook. So if you want to give me a call, if you want to chat about anything I've discussed today, There's the number. It is 607-542-9184. 607-542-9184. And maybe we'll take one or two. We'll see if anybody actually calls in. So once again, 607-542-9184. Let me know what you want to talk about. But I think we covered a lot of things here today. You know, we talked about the fact that, first of all, to me, The Simpsons is artwork. It's literal, like, it's, oh, man. Guys, you don't even know. Like, as a young man, I thought I was going to be an animator. I dreamed of working on The Simpsons. And still to this day, I not only enjoy the show, but I enjoy the way the show has caused more and more animation to become better and better and more adult. Okay? I think that's very important. There's only so much that you can do with human beings. Don't get me wrong. There's like a lot of creativeness out there, and obviously with the right budget, you can get away with sci-fi and fantasy, but there are no limitations to animation. And, you know, Groening's other venture, Futurama, also brilliant. South Park, as relevant as ever. As relevant as ever. Just an awesome show. So, again, to try to censor that, to try to change that because you're outraged, especially when it's presented as a comedy. It's supposed to be funny. I mean, give me a break. Oh, so we're gonna give us, I don't know, another 60 to 90 seconds. If nobody calls in, I totally understand. It's been a nice little live stream. 607-542-9184. 607-542-9184. We talked Apu. We talked Mattis, Yemen. We talked South and Central America, Bolton. Okay, we talked a lot of Trumpsky and Hutch. Alan Dershowitz, people putting up flyers saying, we don't want Dershowitz here. Why is our university paying for him to speak when he's an accused child rapist? Legitimate questions. Legitimate questions. Again, tech giants may have to be broken up. I don't know if they're ever going to get broken up at this point as well, guys. Whether or not this needs to happen, whether it does happen, I'm pretty skeptical. Again, these tech companies are so in bed with the government, so in bed with the National Security Agency, with Homeland Security, with just about every regulatory committee they have to be, on top of every business that can aggregate the data that they collect. So, do we really have an antitrust system anymore? Can monopolies be broken? And again, I'm so sick of hearing about the technocracy and the technocrats and the bureaucrats. No, this is a technopoly. All those people, you want to call them technocrats, those are lower level. Because when you get to the upper echelons of technology, it's not shared. It is a technopoly. It is controlled by the establishment, by the national security police state. And with that being said, I do believe we are going to log off. Didn't get any calls this time, but it is on the smaller network. Again, we got a new video over at the main page. We are supported only by you guys, so if you can, please become a patron or a subscriber over onto the main channel. That's only $4.99 a month. Go grab a t-shirt from the Teespring shop, and most importantly, folks, be the change you want to see in the world. Thank you for joining me.